Today I want to talk about a nice psychological hack that can get crowds of people to do what you want. And it's not a manipulation, it is just understanding human nature to get more people to say yes. And I'm going to tell you about this while walking these beautiful streets of Mexico City with a quick example. This was a real thing. I saw it happen in real time. I read about it in some book, and then seeing it in person was crazy. And I told the guy I loved how you framed it, and he laughed. So about a year ago, maybe 9 months ago, I was at this social media boot camp where you fly to a city and you get all these photos done, and it basically provides you a bunch of really cool photos to help boost your Instagram game and make your Instagram look cool. Anyhow, I'm there, and during the shoot, one of the organizers, he tells this group of about 30 men, hey guys, we have this extra deal to do a exotic car photo shoot. I'd have to spend and rent the car. If everyone chipped in, it's only going to be about $30 per person, maybe $50. If anyone is opposed to this, raise your hands. Otherwise, we are going to do it. And he said something like that. Maybe he didn't add the otherwise we're going to do it part, but he was basically like, sounds like a plan. If anyone is opposed and doesn't want to do it, raise your hand. And that worked. Let me break it down. Almost no one, I don't think a single person raised their hand and showed they were opposed. And this works because most people don't like to go against the crowd. Most people like to go with the default option. And most men don't want to be like the sore loser who's skipping out on it. Also, when you average the cost across so many people, it's not that expensive. And what I told the guy is, I liked how you framed it. And what I really mean, and I think he understood, is if he had simply asked the inverse of that, I think he would have got much more opposition. The inverse of that, which is basically the same question but just framed differently, is, okay, who is interested in this? Show of hands, raise their hands. He probably would have got like 50% of the people to raise their hands, because now they have to commit, and now they're looking around to see who else commits. If less people commit, less people are actually going to participate, and then it's like a snowball effect, because it's now become a state of commission instead of omission. So you're voting to be a part of it, and it's almost like a volunteer thing versus a state of like, hey, this is by default, everyone's doing this. If you're out, you have to let people know. And there's a famous study and chapter in a book by Robert Cialdini, a very famous psychology professor. Sorry, I've been speaking a lot of Spanish, so my English has gone down a bit. And tons of business people, salespeople, entrepreneurs, marketers have used his principles to explode their business. And the book was actually written for people to protect themselves against the manipulations of people, but it can also be used ethically. And the basic study is that there's a survey done, and it was the same question, just phrased differently, for basically organ donations if you get killed in a car accident. And in some countries, it was kind of an opt-in by default. And so it's basically saying, hey, by default, we're opting you into organ donations if you get killed or injured during, or not injured, but if you get killed during a car crash, we will use your organs to help people who really need donors to save their lives. And then in other countries, just because of the laws and regulations, it was the same question, but the inverse. It's like, by default, you're not opted into this, but it'd be really great if you would check and opt in to this organ donation program. And they found that sometimes they would test, and I think they tested in the same country too, just to eliminate those biases there and factors. But they basically said, if you look, whatever was the default got the majority of the votes. So if you opted in by default, they just went with it. If you didn't opt in, most people would just stay unopted in. One could argue this is laziness, but I think it's more than just that. As I saw in real time with this this group and the whole thing I saw at that photo shoot, I truly believe had he asked the reverse of that, instead of, hey, if anyone's opposed and wants to skip out, raise your hand. Instead of that, he said, hey, if anyone is interested in joining or contributing, raise their hand. It's almost the same, it's basically the same thing, but the second one makes people have to think. It forces them to consider, do I want to join? Do I not? It's framed the whole thing differently. Instead of this thing of like, oh, this is part of the package and everyone else is doing it. It's just like $50 you chip in and you get some exotic car photos as well. Now it becomes, do I want to do this? This seems to be an extra bonus thing. Is anyone else opting in? Now I have to activate my brain and decide whether I want to join. And so it's essentially the same question, but just completely phrased differently, and would have caused a completely different response. Now, of course, in the real world, you don't have infinite opportunities to experiment. And my guess is this coach, this organizer, knew this psychology. So maybe he tried it the other way, or he knew instinctively this is the right way to frame it. Now, how would you use this? Honestly, I don't know if it will come out often. I'm still trying to think about how one can bring this in, but it's one of those where I feel like I don't really run into group dynamics that often. And but if you do, let's say you're a tour organizer, or maybe I get a job as a tour organizer or something with groups, then I could bring it into my system.